eating mood, so let's get right to it. Aaron, okay, back to Supreme Court today.
Right.
First of all, in your opinion, was it a little shameful that only 2 out of 7 Supreme Court justices showed up?
Not shameful, but shocking, because yesterday, after we had filed our petition, or rather a petition on behalf of my clients, the President of the court, the Chief Justice, gave us directions and said that we will be coming for the hearing of the petition today at 10 o'clock, having exchanged pleadings. We were in court until about midday when the Chief Justice alone walked in and told us, look, one judge is out of the country because he's unwell. First he began with the Deputy Chief Justice, said because of what happened yesterday, and it's understandable. The other one is away being treated. Then 2 could not come to court without an explanation. The other was unable to come, being out of Nairobi, was unable to come to court, and only 2 of them were available. And the question that would come to your mind immediately was, so what is it when you were giving us directions? What is it that you did not know about these people, that you told us we would come for the hearing of this matter on this date, having caused the expense and time on all of us? Because by the way, last night I was sleeping very late because I had to be serving people on the internet until about 11 o'clock. So it's shameful. And I think that the judges who are unable to come to court for whatever reason, other than the Deputy Chief Justice and the one who is unwell, Justice Ibrahim, I think there is an explanation they owe. They would be, in my view, in gross misconduct of their duties.
Ahmed Nasir, your thoughts?
No, I agree with him first on the use of the word shameful and shocking, but not in relation to the absence of the judges. It was shameful and shocking that that suit should have been filed in the Supreme Court in the first place, because the Supreme Court does not listen to every document that's filed. The Supreme Court has a filtering, and a filtering process whereby first, when a suit is filed in the Supreme Court, the registrar must check that the court has jurisdiction to hear the matter. If he or she is satisfied or is not satisfied, the suit should be dismissed by the registrar. That's what the rules of the Supreme Court says. If the registrar, for one reason or another, allows the matter to go ahead, the judge who is on duty, and in this case it was the Chief Justice, should satisfy himself that the court has jurisdiction or should dismiss it. This is a case that escaped the filtering process twice. It should have been dismissed twice, because the Supreme Court has jurisdiction to hear certain cases, and it has jurisdiction not to hear certain cases.
Are you saying there's a problem with the registrar's office?
No. Let me finish first.
No, Jeff,
I'll finish for you.
Jeff,
let me finish.
No. I don't think I can allow my colleague here to mislead you and the public. The point is, whether or not he thinks there was merit in the suit or not, it is not his business. It doesn't matter. The Chief Justice certified the case as urgent and admitted for hearing. It is no longer the issue of discussing whether that case was available to be the preliminary.
Right, but that's not what he's saying.
No. Listen to me. Whether the Chief Justice satifies or not, this is a case that should not have been filed in court
in the first place.
Because the court has no jurisdiction to stop an election. The court has jurisdiction to cancel an election, like it did last time. But it has no jurisdiction. This was a suit that was clandestinely and seditiously filed.
Do not listen to this kind of nonsense from my senior colleague.
Yes.
Don't use the word first nonsense.
It is nonsense. You are my classmate, but that is nonsense.
We are not in the same caliber, you know that.
Of course, you are of lower caliber, but that's not the point. The point is this: the
Jeff,
case
you don't bring me to.
Admitted.
I debate with sober people.
The case was already.
You are not fair to me.
The case was already admitted for hearing.
Yes.
We had directions. You saw the courthouse today was full of senior lawyers, including Paul Muite, Dr. John Khaminwa. The Attorney General himself was in court today, robed and with a wig.
That doesn't mean the court has jurisdiction.
The point I'm making to you, Jeff, is this: it's not so much about that. The thing is, what were the issues in court? Why were judges not there? Did the judges make a predetermination that this case is so useless we don't have to appear?
Right.
So they decided to take leave and go to their frolics? Or is it that they decided, or did they have a genuine problem? If they had a genuine problem, how come that for Judge Ojwang and Wanjala, we were told they were unable to be in court. Judge Njoki Ndung'u, we were told she was unable to be in court because she couldn't get a flight back. And
Ibrahim is ill.
Ibrahim is ill.
And Deputy CJ had an incident last night.
The issue is this.
Yes.
How could the Chief Justice have given us directions to come for hearing at 10 o'clock the following day, which was today, if he knew that these judges were unavailable? But perhaps that is not the issue. The issue would be, what were we asking for? I think, because my brother here is telling you it was useless, it is important for you to listen to what we were asking for.
Okay, fine.
Which is three things. The first was that this election happening tomorrow is illegal and unconstitutional for one reason. Or two reasons. It's unconstitutional, it's irregular, the irregularities and illegalities have not been sorted out, and that there is a stranger in that election happening tomorrow.
Okay.
No, but you see, I don't use the word he wants to use. He uses. My learned friend may not be familiar with the way that courts practice. He comes there once in a blue moon. Some of us go there more often than him. But
to do silly things.
But there is something that there was a conspiracy in the filing of that petition itself, and that it has been allowed to jump 2 stages of vetting is an indictment of the court itself.
What do you mean conspiracy? Because
that matter should not have come before the full bench. The Supreme Court does not deal with stopping elections. Supreme Court has 2 jurisdictions. One, it has a jurisdiction to hear an appeal from the Court of Appeal if it's a matter of national importance, or a matter of serious constitutional matter. Alternatively, it has original jurisdiction to hear a petition from a presidential election, and it can hear also advisory opinion. This case was none of those cases. This is a case where 3 parties filed a suit or a petition and said that we wanted the election to be stopped. It is unheard of. That registrar should have dismissed that application immediately without bringing it to the court. Let me finish. Let me finish. I give you a time.
Okay, I'll grant you.
Yes. So why did the registrar not dismiss that matter? Why did the Chief Justice not dismiss it? Why did he bring it to the full court? Those are questions that need to be answered.
But was there any mischief in some of the justices not showing up today? Was there a bit of mischief?
You know, me, I'm an officer of that court. I cannot impute bad motive on judges and say that, because a judge did not appear and the Chief just give reasons, there was ulterior motive or bad motive. That is not what we do there in that court.
That's an oxymoron.
Especially I'm a senior counsel.
Because on the one hand, my colleague here is saying,
yes,
actually, you should feel honored through Hamid Nasser. He's making you look like a judge because he's appealing. He's telling you, oh, you can't have admitted this, blah, blah, blah. The point is, the judges, the matter had been admitted for hearing.
Yes.
It does not matter whether it had merit or no merit. We should have been heard and then be told on dismissal that you have no merit.
Okay.
When judges disappear from court, and especially without an explanation, then you cannot fail but to impute ill motive.
Okay.
Because, let me conclude with this. Today was not a public holiday until Matiang'i declared it yesterday.
Right.
Judges ordinarily would work 25 hours a day like police officers and nurses and doctors. So I don't know whether my friend has had this opportunity. I have had occasion to go to judges at night to seek relief orders. Some occasionally have
I practice during the day.
Yes, that's all right. Because you hardly care about the suffering of people.
When have you cared, my friend?
Right,
it's like we don't know you.
It's all right.
We know you from the day you are practicing in Mombasa.
It's all right. You hardly know about people who suffer tonight. You see, the thing you are saying, we conspiracy. You are throwing words without
We
winning.
know from the day you practiced to today, we have your resume.
It's okay, whatever you know about it.
Okay.
The point I'm making
Let me
is
ask you this, Harun. Let me ask you this.
Please do. But before you do, what I was going to say is this.
Yes.
Judges must be available at all times.
Right, but they weren't today.
And today they were available for no explanation.
Right, and the election is now going on. Are you shocked, Harun? Are you disappointed?
I'm not quite disappointed that the election will go on. My disappointment is that we are having an election that is worse than the one that was nullified, that he participated in, and that every opportunity, every chance to nullify whatever happens tomorrow, the standard of proof, the standard of nullifying it is far lower than they experienced.
Jeff, let me put the record straight. I mean, he may not again be familiar with it, but there were two reasons why the Supreme Court nullified the last elections. One is that the Supreme Court used what is forged documents, Form 34, that we don't know where they come from, that the court alleged that were not signed. The second reason, and it was, you know, a legal absurdity, and even him will agree because it's so obvious, a legal principle. The second was that the court said because the servers of IEBC were not open, we are making an inference that they were hacked. It is never heard of. Nobody can make an inference like that in law. But again, it shows those two factors are not there in this election. The last election was nullified wrongly. This election has all the certification that it is proper. And tomorrow, Kenyans should go and vote. And if you want to rest, you can rest.
So okay, let me ask you this. and you were part of that Supreme Court situation.
Yes.
Did you know, did you feel, did you realize that you had lost this battle at some point in between, 3/4 of the way, the day before the ruling, the day of the ruling?
I'm not too sure that is the question you should be asking him.
Let me answer the question.
No. You cannot be... let me ask...
or is it the leading question?
No, you know that. What I'm trying to correct, Jeff, is this.
Yeah.
The issue before the court is not so much the issue you should be asking Jeff, Nasir today, about whether he had a hunch whether he was going to lose or not.
Yeah.
Every lawyer goes to court. If you are an honest lawyer, you know you will urge your client's case. You could lose, you could win, irrespective, or rather depending on the weight of the arguments from the other side.
Yes, but the way he argued...
The way he argued, of course, with the braggadocio, he seemed to assume that he was going to win, but that's not the point. Style is usually everybody's, everyone has their own style. But for me, the question I would want to ask for the country,
go on.
What is the quality of an election? When Kenyans go, or citizens of any country go to vote, what do they intend to mean? Do they mean that the numbers, irrespective of how they are tweaked by any individual, then it doesn't matter what it is? The quality of an election, rather the quality of an election is to give people the person they have chosen to lead them because of the sovereign authority they delegate. Yeah. And that's precisely the point that they were told. Elections are about processes, and the processes are as good as the result. I'm completing. So that in the final analysis, you are actually saying if the quality is uncertain, and especially if there is evidence of tinkering with that quality to the negative, then it's highly likely that that result would be nullified, irrespective of the numbers. Okay. Elections can be about statistics.
Go on. You see, I've said, and I don't. My good friend probably wasn't listening to me. There were two reasons why the election was nullified. The two elections, there were two reasons why the election was nullified. It's not about whether the quality or quantitatively or qualitatively. The decision of the Supreme Court, a month or a month and a half ago, was not a legal decision. It was not based on non-principles of the law. No. The decision was a political decision. And I have said, and I told the court immediately they made the decision that you have made a decision. I know, my clients know that it's a political decision. We will abide by your decision. But when you write the judgment, please convince the world and write a rational judgment that makes sense. They had a chance. The judgment they wrote was so untenable, so unpersuasive, so absurd that if you read it now, and you know, especially when you read it with a dissent, if you look at the dissent said actually the judges, the majority judgment used forged documents. And you see the absurdity is that 2 months later on, both the Chief Justice and that court have not revisited that issue. While the documents on which they nullified the election forged documents.
So let me ask you this, Ahmed Nasir.
Yes.
What's to stop the opposition from going to the Supreme Court after tomorrow's election?
No. They have.
Jeff,
Hold on, Harun.
Let me finish.
You keep going on a tangent all the time. No.
What tangent is that?
The tangent you are going to is this, that you are always subjecting these to individuals. I think you will do Kenyans a service if you said, what kind of election, what quality of election would you like?
No,
not whether.
I can't ask that. I mean, that's a general question.
Maybe I'm wrong, but...
I think you're very wrong. But the question is, what's to stop the opposition from
not
going to
opposition. Actually, a Jubilee voter or a NASA voter
Kenyan,
or an independent voter can actually say, I am unhappy about this quality of election. Let me go to court on a petition.
No, but Jubilee voters are rational. No. Jubilee voters are rational. And from what I know, they are happy.
You think
let me finish. The election process, you see, let us not be subjective. Let's not be emotional. Let's not be biased politically. What is wrong with this election? Just because one candidate has withdrawn when it was obvious that he will lose the election?
Why was it obvious? Why was it obvious?
It was obvious because the last election, he lost by 1.4 million. Secondly, immediately after the Supreme Court ordered for the election to be repeated, the coalition he was leading, disintegrated. Everybody knows. Substantial portions of his constituency disintegrated and defected to Jubilee. When you know, and I think... there was someone who was talking about someone who has defected, and he said he made a very rational decision. Raila made a rational decision not to contest the election because it was obvious that he will suffer the same defeat as he suffered in the last election of 8 August. So it's not about the quality of the election. There's nothing wrong with this election.
Go on.
When you listen to a friend of mine like this one speaking about some statistics of his own from his mind.
Which statistics have I referred to?
You are saying he got by 1.4.
Those are numbers. They're not statistics.
Right, okay, call them numbers like the IBC said they were. The point I'm making is this. You cannot suggest, or you shouldn't be allowed to suggest that because last year I got 200 votes, therefore this year I will get 200 or 198 votes. The point I want to make is, for this country to move forward, let's discuss the quality of an election, the value of the election, and the sanctity of the election. To try to say, oh, Raila, this, Uhuru, that, I think it's beneath us.
No. But my friend, listen, my learned friend, he makes the point, but I'm not persuaded. What is this thing he talks of the value of the election? What is this value of the election?
If you don't mind, listen. The Kenya Constitution, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was enacted after a long experience of 2-3 decades.
That's obvious.
Ngoja, that experience has taught us that there can always be doubt and suspicion, and there has been manipulation of elections. On account of this manipulation and doubts, Kenyans decided that an election to be free, fair, and accountable must have certain qualities. It must be devoid of intimidation. It must be devoid of unfair influences, including corruption, and must be accountable, fair, free, simple, and accurate. All those things mean something. What do you do when you are actually manifesting this election? If you are the election management body, what do you do so that you can reflect these values which have been
okay, so let me ask
let me finish.
I am just finishing. What do you do as IEBC to reflect this? Those are the things that have been put in the regulations to say that this election must come through an electronic system that is unabused. Now we have.
All right. I've heard you.
No. Let me answer him. all those issues which he enumerated, which are values, the Supreme Court, when it analyzed the last election of August 8, found that it has satisfied all those values. Yes, all of them. The only
including irregularities and illegalities.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Hold on, one at a time.
Let me finish. All those intimidation, bribery, violence, all those things the court said the court said that nobody is culpable. Pass. The only two reasons, and he has not read the judgment, unfortunately. The only two reasons why the court nullified was Form 34 was not signed.
Transmission.
And there is implied hacking.
But let me ask you this, the legitimacy of this election will be in question, won't it, Harun? The legitimacy.
This coming election of tomorrow,
yes.
If it happens?
What do you mean if it's on?
I am not sure it's on, because a person is declared or would be declared elected president if, one, you are elected by a majority of voters from a certain number of constituencies and counties. I know that being a fresh election, all you need to do is to have a majority of members.
Correct.
Of numbers.
Yes.
If it is a majority of numbers, then it is incumbent upon whoever will get those numbers to say, oh, I have been elected. But the point is the legitimacy and the quality. Because when you get elected, this majoritarian idea that because I have numbers, because I got 5.8 million votes and the other guy got 5.6 million votes, then I have the right to rule over them without taking them into account.
Okay.
That is precisely the issue of legitimacy you raise, and indeed I agree with you, Jeff, that the question of legitimacy of the coming election, if it happens, I said, because we have had people, the opposition has said there will be no election in certain places, so we have to wait until 27th to see where did this happen, so that does it reflect an election of the country or does it reflect...
Okay, let me ask you the same question.
Let me ask you, don't equate the word legitimacy with giving one candidate a veto power. You are saying that because Raila has not participated, there's no legitimacy. No. Legitimacy derives from Kenyan voting in a process. The withdrawal of a candidate does not take anything from the legitimacy of the process. No. Because it's just one candidate.
But then 6.8 million people will feel disenfranchised.
No. They are making a choice. You see, when a candidate boycotts an election and says that I don't want my supporters not to vote, they are entitled. They will sleep that day or they will do something more productive.
But then will they feel...
But let me tell you, under Article 138 of the Constitution, there is an election of the president is conducted in a certain manner. And it says that all voters who want to vote on that day will vote. The candidate who gets the largest number, who satisfies this requirement, who gets this number from these counties, will become the candidate, will become the president. But let me tell you, there's a fallacy that's propounded in certain quarters that because a candidate has not participated in the election, there is no legitimacy. There are many elections in the world where certain very serious candidates have elected not to participate. And that takes nothing from the legitimacy of the election.
But in our very divided country ethnically...
When were we united?
No. I think...
When were we... Let me finish. When were we united? It's very touchy, I don't know.
It's a touchy-feeling kind of show.
Let me tell you. Yes. This hypocrisy that when were we united? We are divided, but we want the law to regulate our division. Yes. Because if you don't follow the law, and it's only when someone thinks that he is higher than the law, that he can do what he wants, that the issue of division comes. But to be divided, to be divided on opinion, to be divided into classes, to be divided in so many things, that is the natural order of things.
Okay, I'm going to take a break, Harun, and come back to you and ask you the same question. Because I disagree with the Grand Mullah. We are very ethnically divided, now more than ever.
But that's natural.
It's not natural because now the hatred meter has gone so high.
No. To be divided, there is nothing wrong with that. It is the law that should regulate our division.
Okay, let's take a break. Before we take a break, Monica, you have some numbers for me. We've been asking the question, gentlemen, are you going to vote tomorrow? Yes or no? Okay, so far, 44% of you say yes. 56% of you say no. Keep voting. Aaron, you're laughing. 44% of you say no. 56% of you say yes. Keep voting. It's not scientific, but, you know, we'll get some answers. 22422 at Ahmed Nasir Law, at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag, as always, is JKlive. JKlive takes a break. We'll be back. Where are we, Nwanika? 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll be back in a moment. Touchy-feely show.